r/AskReddit, what are gonna be the real consequences of COVID, like in 20 years? Kids who are just starting school this year will have a completely different experience for the rest of the school life. If I recall correctly, there have been studies about the first few foundation years of school being a clear predictor for the rest of your learning life. No idea what will be different, just that these kids are not going to be like any other cohort of students. I'm hoping it'll lead towards good time management skills and good familiarity with technology. The latter is obvious, but I think there might be some merit in learning when to goof off and when to make sure you get things turned in on time, and mostly correct, so you can continue goofing off. Unfortunately, I think it'll make socioeconomic status more visible. Sure, some kids will make progress with school at home. However, I imagine that parents who already struggled financially and may not be able to stay home and help their kid will have issues. Some families may not be able to afford internet or a computer, and their kids may end up with an inferior education through no fault of their own. That's absolutely true, and why internet access needs to be viewed as a necessary public utility. I agree that the internet should be viewed as a necessary public utility, but I'm going to jump on my soapbox here to add that access to the internet is not enough to solve the class inequity as far as distance learning is concerned. I work in a Title I school and this situation has been a nightmare. Many of my students do actually have internet. The issue is that even if a child has access to the internet, it does not mean that they have the structure, resources, and parental guidance at home to learn effectively. I would also add that while academic instruction can be effectively provided using technology, school provides much more than academic instruction for low-SES students. School provides structure, routine, social-emotional teaching and social interaction, food, field trips, modeling of healthy relationships, and general life experiences, all of which, in my opinion, are equally as necessary if we're hoping to break cycles. 20-year-olds rolling their eyes when their parents talk about COVID-19. Yeah, I think it will be something like this. Back in my days, I was at home for 50 days, so I think you can stay in your room for an hour. 50. I'm on day 72 with no end in sight. Here in Spain I don't know anymore. I stopped counting. At home since the 13th of March. I was gonna say that. I was already kinda reclusive and staying at home most of the time, so I never even started counting. I'm pretty introverted and joked that I was made for shelter in place. But man, not going out to dinner or drinks with friends since early March is starting to get old. I wonder how colleges, universities will be impacted. My college moved all its classes for the next 3 semesters online, and the first question that was asked was, will you be reducing tuition? I think if they don't, a lot of people won't be able to go to college or finish out their degrees. In 100 years they will be making memes about how the 20s of each century started with a plague. Jokes on them. In 100 years they will be in their own plague. Huddle, suckers. Suck to be them. More jobs will become remote as employers realize it's more efficient and cheaper. Offices cost money. People cost more money than offices. Once everything is remote, the companies will hire the cheapest workers in other countries. Not really. The IT sector has been trying to outsource to countries like India, China and even African nations for decades, and it has always failed due to completely different and often incompatible work cultures, with unmanageable legacy code as a result, which in turn turns into a huge cost when the company is inevitably forced to bring the jobs home again. My worry is that more jobs might be pushed abroad to cheaper countries when employers realize jobs can be done remotely. IT has been able to be remote for some time. However, culture and time zone differences have caused projects to suffer. I'm a software dev, and our company is looking to move all devs to go remote. However, we are not sending development overseas, as that has proven time and time again to cause problems. The question is, do my wife and I move now? This is a huge thing. Outsourcing has never been as effective as companies hoped. Best case, they wind up creating a dedicated branch in their outsourced country, because they still need locals to handle management and such. So, instead of having a bunch of Indian developers dialing into the morning meetings with their American manager, they have an Indian branch with local manager and devs with their own projects. Indian devs don't like working the night shift any more than US devs, and the good ones aren't so desperate that you can force them to do so like you could decades ago. Their tech economy is booming. They're in a seller's market same as Western devs. This does have the advantage of time zone coverage. If you're a service provider and your service goes down during night time in the West, your Eastern studios can start the troubleshooting without having to wake up your Western devs, and vice versa. Very effective. Move to some nice low-cost living area and rake in the money. This is it. Right now everyone sitting at home being able to work full-time feels great. Very low risk of being fired during one of the biggest economic catastrophes of all time. Meanwhile our companies are scouring the earth for low-wage replacements. The biggest mechanical tech companies in the world have already doing this and look for every opportunity to expand their overseas R&D teams in favor of their local ones. This effort will bleed into other segments. Source: I'm a mechanical engineer working from home who has already partnered with Indian, Chinese, South Korean, Thai, Malay, Singaporean co-workers. Source: I'm a mechanical engineer working from home who has already partnered with Indian, Chinese, South Korean, Thai, Malay, Singaporean co-workers. And how long have you been at it and what's their work output like? Because if it's anything like the companies I've worked for, that work has to be looked over and corrected before it's even usable. There are some hidden gems, but as a whole I've found outsourced work to be much lower quality. The kids of today will be paying financially for this. The kids of tomorrow will also be paying financially for this. I am never going to financially recover from this. Just like kids have been doing for generations. Let's face facts, things have gone downhill since the early 90s. You mean early 60s? Hopefully we will be better prepared for the next inevitable pandemic. We won't. We'll eventually start building up a good worldwide response organization. Then it will get dismantled because they aren't doing anything. The IT paradox. When everything is working, why do we pay you? You don't do anything all day. When something breaks, why do we even pay you? You should have prevented this. Just yoink the network cable for an hour once every few weeks. At a previous job I was always careful to never prevent future problems. Just fix what is broken today. When you're being rated on how many issues you resolve in a day, preventative maintenance is robbing yourself of future productivity. Damn straight. A number of years ago I was in an IT department with 4 second-line techs. I was one of them. Over the course of 5 weeks, we installed 800 brand new machines, removed the old ones too. That meant building each one from the 3 boxes they came in, so 2,400 boxes, in almost the whole campus. Then imaged them. We worked like crazy. Utterly broke our backs to get it done in that time frame. 3 months later redundancies came to our college. They wanted to reduce the second line techs from 4 to 2. The document outlining their reasons for the cuts read due to the brand new IT equipment throughout campus and the guarantees on that equipment. We no longer require so many IT technicians. Frick you very much. Conspiracy, or people believing that COVID was just a conspiracy and the millions that died never really existed. My mum has a co-worker who thinks it's all a conspiracy and we live in one of the hardest hit states. Is this one of my kids? I have a co-worker like that. I work on a COVID ICU as a nurse. When our patients get discharged from the ICU, many of them will have lasting if not permanent conditions from this disease. It's really too early to tell how many survivors will have disabilities and how many will recover 100%. Simply being laid out on a ventilator for 20-30 days takes a while to recoup from. Should one suffer strokes, renal damage or impaired lung function, those conditions can follow them for the rest of their possibly shortened lifespan. Having a large number of people suddenly disabled and without employment-tied health insurance in falling economy is going to perhaps be a problem. The socialization effects of young kids during this time. By the time children are 3 years old, 80% of their brain is wired, developed to accept love, how to play, how to learn, act. By age 5, 90% of their brain is wired. All the children who are missing out on a year or more of socialization could have unknown consequences. Strong family ties where they are afraid to leave home, a harder time making new friends, difficulty socializing, depression or other mental health issues later on in life. I know people think that keeping their 2 or 3-year-old home, even elementary kids, isn't a big deal, but having this time where they are kept inside and only seeing their parents and siblings is going to affect them in unknown ways 20, 30, 40 years down the road. We're only 2 months into this, so this is all wild speculation. But retail has been teetering on the brink of death for years, and this is going to be the final nail in the coffin for a lot of it. Sure, things are reopening, but people aren't going to be jamming to fill the malls. Major clothing retailers that have a store in every mall might cut back to 1 or 2 per city. A lot of jobs just aren't going to come back. Same with restaurants. A lot of people, especially young people, are realizing how much money you can save cooking at home. A lot of servers aren't getting their jobs back. The economic slump is going to require a lot of stimulus, which means in 20 years, taxes are gonna be crazy. I agree about retail. I don't agree about restaurants, because while people are realizing how much money you can save, people in general are lazy and will fall back on that. I still think restaurants will come out okay as an industry. Only those that had the capital to weather the storm. Small businesses and family-owned restaurants are going to struggle to recover, if it's even a possibility. It's an objective fact that some restaurants will not be able to reopen after this. Won't there be lots of new restaurants in a year or 2 though? It's a bad time to have a small restaurant, but not a bad time if you have some money saved and are planning on opening one later. Congrats, you've made it to the end. You're a beast. Like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit content. It's free, so why not just do it?